All right, I think we have everybody here, so I'll just kick things off, folks. Thanks again so much for joining us this evening. My name is John Allen. I'm a Swampscott resident who cares very deeply about the ways in which we can work together to keep our community safe and healthy, to ensure that we are leaving it better than we found it. So thank you again so much for joining us this evening for this conversation. I'm grateful for the opportunity to moderate this discussion tonight. A special thank you to Andrea Moore for creating a group where we could come together to discuss the ways in which we can make a positive impact in our community, specifically around this issue. It was her initiative and thoughtfulness that led us here tonight. So thank you so much, Andrea, for your energy and efforts on that end. And thank you to our panelists, Senator Brendan Crichton, Representative Lori Ehrlich, Chris Mancini from Save the Harbor, Save the Bay. We're looking forward to hearing your thoughts and your experiences on this issue this evening. I know we're going to learn a lot from you tonight. Some other folks that I'd just like to take an opportunity to highlight for their attendance tonight: Robert Tucker, president of the Friends of Lynn in Nahant Beach; Dave Grishman from the Swampscott Select Board; Neil Duffy from the Swampscott Select Board; Nicole McLean from the North Shore Juneteenth Association; Caitlin Sahajian from the Daily Item; and William Dowd from Wicked Local. Thank you all very much for taking time on a Thursday evening to be here this evening, to cover this, to listen, to share your experiences and your specific unique thoughts as well. And without further ado, we'll just turn it over to Senator Crichton to kick off the brief remarks from our panelists, which will be followed by a Q&A session, which we can talk more about once we get there. Senator.
Beautiful. Thank you, John. I wish you would have told me you would have been in full suit and tie. I feel a little dressed down, but we just finished bedtime stories here. So anyways, it's great to be with all of you. Anytime a group comes together like this, it really makes our jobs at the State House a lot easier. This is an issue that has been around for quite some time, but really for the past 10 years, with the testing in place, Kings Beach has been one of the worst beaches in our state. And Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, well represented here by Chris, and I'll be brief so he can dive into more of this, has been doing tremendous work. And I've been fortunate to be the Metropolitan Area Beaches Commission chair and working directly with them. And their studies most recently found that Kings Beach received a 70% rating, meaning it was unsafe for swimming 1 out of every 5 days in 2020. Other beaches, routinely scoring 100% compliance rate. Obviously, this is unacceptable. This is an issue, both in Lynn and in Swampscott, so 2 communities that I represent. I know we have a few Lynners here and as well, but it's an issue that I had a chance to work on as a staffer to then Senator Tom McGee as his chief of staff. And back in 2014, he and Representative Ehrlich, were able to secure funding in an environmental bond bill to improve infrastructure at our metropolitan beaches. And it was $20 million. And unfortunately, we have not, to this date, while we can authorize that money to be spent, we have not been able to get it spent on this particular project. In recent years, we've worked with Lynn Water and Sewer, as well as the town of Swampscott, to identify specifically what the problems are. And I think that's kind of what brought us all together more recently, was getting a punch list of items and things that may solve this. And with the ARPA funding and infrastructure funding opportunities right before us, this really could be a once in a generation opportunity to get this issue addressed. I could talk for another 20 minutes about all the reasons why it's so horrible. And I do want to kind of just give Laurie and Chris a chance to speak, and then get into the question and answers. So I'll be quiet now. Laurie, all you.
Hi, hey, Senator Brendan. It's great to see you. We have no bedtime stories going on in this house this evening, but my dogs are all walked, and then I threw a blazer back on. But as we're all, anybody in a suit is probably in half a suit right now. I'm so glad everybody's here. It's great to see such wonderful turnout for an 8 p.m. meeting. So thanks everybody who's here. Many of you I know. And I know you're actively engaged in making sure that this strip of coastline is cared for by DCR and that it's swimmable. And, the jewel of our community is there for everybody to enjoy. This is an issue that has really come to a head in the last few years, as Brendan had mentioned. And just recently, this past week, we were part of the Lynn delegation going to our colleagues in the legislature who are in charge of distributing some federal ARPA money. And we made the case that this is a great infrastructure improvement that the state has an interest in. Not only should the state care about the quality of our beaches, but also this is a DCR property, or at least on the Lynn side, this is a DCR property, which means the beach is actually owned by the state. So clearly there's an interest, and we have some follow-up meetings scheduled. But it's something that both communities know what the problem is, and the good news, folks, is that this is solvable. It's just a very expensive solution. So with the help of federal money, I really think this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to actually get this done. Brendan and Senator Crichton and I are going to push this to the limit, and we're going to just continue to make the case until we can actually get this done. Now, on the ground, as my constituents know, what we experience really are these two outflow pipes that are actually right next to each other, right down the middle of Kings Beach. And one of those outflow pipes is coming from Lynn, and the other one is coming from Swampscott. And Swampscott has made progress in cleaning up what's going into that pipe and out to the ocean. Lynn has too, but the progress is very slow because it's all the communities can afford right now. So, this does come down to a conversation about funding, and where luckily all the voices in all our communities are in unison, and we hope to lead the way to getting it done. So I'm not going to get into the technical stuff because I think that's what Chris is planning on talking about. But I am hopeful. The stars are aligned. Everybody is, basically working together in tandem. We have the two communities at the table. Brendan and I participated in a group discussion. It was right before COVID shut everything down, where we had leaders from Swampscott, leaders from Lynn. The Lynn Public Health Department was there, Friends of Lynn and Nahant Beach, the Lynn Water and Sewer Commission. We had a representative from the Lynn City Council, and we were all, just talking about solving this. So, the good news is politically everybody's aligned in getting this done, and now it's just a matter of defining it probably and funding it. So we're here to make sure it gets done, and I guess you are too. So I'm thrilled for all the grassroots participation I've seen lately, and look forward to working with you all to seeing it through. So I guess I'll turn it over now to Chris. Chris, are you ready to take the baton?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Representative Ehrlich. And I think this is our first time meeting. I don't know that I've had the pleasure of actually meeting you in person, but I will say that I did just move to Swampscott last August and had the pleasure of voting for you for the first time. Oh. So that was very exciting.
Well, that's a nice way to start off our relationship. Thank you.
I figure I'd say that just in front of everybody, but
thanks, Chris. I'll make you proud. Hope to make you proud.
Thank you so much for all your longstanding work on this, pushing for this. I know it goes back years, and Senator Crichton as commissioner of the Metropolitan Beaches Commission. And I know you've already acknowledged, but I want to, also acknowledge again, Bob Tucker and Becky Susiu from Friends of Lynn and Nahant Beach. Friends of Lynn and Nahant Beach has been here forever, pushing for this and flying the flags, to use a little bit of a pun there. But Save the Harbor has been here supporting them. We have a much wider scope, but kind of my history of this initiative, goes back to, Save the Harbor was founded in the 80s to clean up Boston Harbor and to advocate for the building of the Deer Island sewage treatment plant. And skipping all the jokes and all the fun parts of the stories that'll take me at least 15 minutes to tell, it was a success. Boston Harbor, is now one of the great environmental success stories in the United States. And particularly in South Boston, we saw a really similar situation play out, a really dirty, dirty beach that is now one of the cleanest urban beaches in the country. And internally, we have a little bit of a half joke where my predecessor, Patty Foley, who was president of Save the Harbor for 22 years, grew up in South Boston, and she really led the charge to advocate for and get the funding to clean up South Boston. So I decided to move to Swampscott in the North Shore in order to do the same for Kings Beach. That's why I moved here. So obviously this has been going on for a while. I started at Save the Harbor as the vice president of operations in 2017. The first thing they handed me was the water quality report card, and the first thing I said was, why didn't we do this for Kings Beach? What's going on? And it wasn't until I was appointed executive director and I went to our board and I said, I want to make this a priority for our platform and our policy agenda. Just in the same, following in the footsteps of Friends of Lynn and Nahant Beach. And so we made a really specific press strategy this year in particular to elevate this issue in the press. And I don't know how many folks are here, because of some of the articles in the Lynn Daily Item, the Boston Herald, the Globe, and things that really went and elevated, I think, this issue in the general public. I'd like to think it did, but and it may just be a coincidence, but here we all are, seeing this, and I don't know that I can say it better than the senator and the representative already did. As you said, Representative, like the stars are aligned. The Lynn delegation is pushing this forward hard. This group is coming up. Friends of Lynn and Nahant Beach is talking about this every single day online and to the constituents here. And Save the Harbor is doing whatever we can to elevate that story and put that data out there. So I think I'll probably just leave it at that for now, and we'll go to the Q&A so that we can get into the details that people are interested in, from the funding strategies to the awareness and alert and communication possibilities. Thank you. And thank you to John and to Andrea for putting this together.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Senator. And thanks so much, Rep. Really appreciate it again. Before we kick it off into Q&A, just wanted to, this is the teacher in me here, just wanted to set some norms here as we kind of kick things forward here. So just making sure you start by introducing yourself before you ask your question. We want to share talk time. We only have 45 minutes left here. So if we can focus on questions rather than monologues or stories, just to ensure everyone has an opportunity to speak and get their question across, that'd be great. And just for the purpose of having this done in an organized fashion, if we could raise our hand through the Zoom feature at the bottom of your screen, that would be wonderful. And if you're not talking, please just keep yourself on mute. Thank you. Who wants to kick us off? And Senator Crichton got knocked off, but he's coming back on right now.
I guess I'll start. I'm Will Dowd from the Swampscott Reporter. I guess just if you guys could, I liked the report cards that y'all put out. I thought it was really like a great encapsulation of what's going on as far as water quality goes, but we didn't get into like the individual kind of what's going on at each of the beaches. I don't remember seeing that. I think I saw it in the State House News Service. But what can someone just give? I'm sure everyone's probably in the know on this, but like, can we just recap real quick what's going on at Kings Beach? Like, we reported that there's like fecal matter, I know, and there's also like, what is it? Not fungus, but some, yeah, just what's going on at Kings Beach would be great. Just a refresher.
Chris, do you want to handle that one? Or...
Yeah, absolutely. And Representative Ehrlich, pointed out Stacy Brook outfall is right there on the beach. It's two pipes, one from Swampscott, one from Lynn. And as I think we put it in some of our materials this summer, what we're seeing is bacteria-laden stormwater and sometimes and often raw sewage coming out through both of those pipes. At some point during this Zoom, I'll drop a link to our findings and recommendations on Kings Beach from 2017. But the summary is you have a dry weather problem in Swampscott. So there's like a small amount that Swampscott has identified and is under the consent decree and is addressing this issue by relining the pipes. You have, these are both very old systems, like everywhere on the East Coast. And, collapsing pipes, you get infiltration into the groundwater from those pipes. And so you have this like regular flow out onto the beach. And then in Lynn, there is a CSO that drains into Stacy Brook, which is triggered about 4 times a year at this point in heavy storms. But you also have regular flow from really long-standing old, we call them illicit connections at this point. It goes back to when the storm and sewer systems were separated decades ago, and not every individual CSO, thanks Beth, is combined sewer overflow. Sorry, word soup, acronym, bad acronym habits. Letter soup, I should say. So I lost lost my train of thought there. Yeah, so you have not every individual residential connection made the trip over to the new pipe. So you have a new sewer system and you have an old stormwater system, and some of the sewage connections are still connected to the old stormwater system. So that leaves a regular flow and an increased wet weather flow on the Lynn side. So you have to address both problems to clean up Kings Beach. And what our annual report card sort of tells is a summary. It doesn't get into the detail, and it's really a report card of all of the metropolitan beaches from Nahant to Nantasket, including Kings Beach. We only say it like that because Nahant and Nantasket both start with an N, so it sounds good. When you look at it, you see most of our beaches, Revere and Winthrop, East Boston, Wollaston even, score at least a B, 85. Most of them are scoring 95 and above, thanks to the improvements over the past 30 years. And Kings Beach really is the outlier for swimming beaches. It's Lynn's only swimming beach. It's such a beautiful waterfront, and it's one of the densest cities in the Commonwealth. And so we really see this also as an environmental justice issue. When you have limited access for Lynn, and yet you look down to Nahant and see full crowds on a clean beach on a summer day, and you look north to Fisherman's Beach and you see great crowds for Swampscott on a summer's day.
Great. Louis, you want to ask your question?
Yes, my name is Louis Trezullo. I'm part of the online group on seeing what we could do to help. I just have 2 questions, if it's okay to ask 2. One is probably be aimed towards Chris, so I'll start there. So, I mean, we're talking about raw sewage. We're talking about, fecal matter, all these things that sound really dangerous. My biggest thought right now is that with this leaking into the water, one, how does it not take over the whole ocean, because it's been doing this over and over for many, many years now? And 2, how does it go away? How does it all of a sudden 3 days later become safe to swim in it, or is it still there?
There's the old expression, dilution is the solution to pollution. And this is common, even in other places where you have this issue, and going back decades, following a heavy rain, the advice was wait 3 days before you swim. Between the tidal action and the sheer size of the ocean that is within that amount of time, it does dilute and spread out into the wider environment. Obviously, it's just the ocean is humongous, and so it may have been going on for a long time, but it does get diluted and break down over time, so you don't have an impact beyond the immediate area.
I think I'd also add that a lot of people are aware that this beach has had a problem for decades with the algae issue, and that has a more obvious appearance for all of us because it smells. And these two issues are not related.
Yeah.
And the algae issue is something that every year I go to the state budget with Senator Crichton, and we get funding for DCR to actually rake up the algae in the springtime so it doesn't smell all summer long. And there's a whole very expensive process that the state goes through to dispose of it. But it's actually not related. But when people think of this beach, a lot of times my grandmother used to live on Lynshore Drive, and I remember how awful it smelled to go visit her. And, but it's much better now. It's not perfect. We have some days where you can maybe pick up a little odor, but it's so much better than it was years ago. But that is not the issue. It's not related to the sewer outflow. Or I don't know, maybe we'll find that it is if we clean up the sewer outflow, but MIT has studied it and they determined that there is this Pilela algae that is only on our beach here and a beach over in Italy. And those are the only two places in the world they found this algae. So I just want everybody, I don't want to get off on a tangent too far, but I just want you to know that when you smell that smell, it is not because of the sewer outflow.
Thank you for always fighting for that line item, by the way, Representative. It's so important to us.
Huge. Thank you. Rob.
My last question would be to Senator and the rep. Is there a set number of money that you're aiming for? Because I know that the problem is identified, but not totally identified, because obviously it's a reconfiguration of the pipes. But is 20 million the set number, or do we not know the exact number yet of what the goal is?
So I don't know that we kind of have back of the envelope math done, and some it's really not firm, estimates based on engineering or based on, it's more kind of a ballpark figure for the Lynn side. I think the Swampscott side, and Laurie, correct me, or Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they've had, because of this consent decree, because they've been doing the work, putting in, roughly $2 million annually, approved the town meeting. I believe they may have firmer figures. I mean, some of the options, are far more expensive than others. Our hope is to meet, and Representative Ehrlich and I are going to be meeting with the administration. We're going to be working with Save the Harbor and other folks to say, which are the realistic options. Many of them would take really pretty significant approvals by EPA and exceptions to current environmental regulations to do. So it's hard to say before the experts tell us, but we're probably going to need north of 20 million. I think that bond money that we talk about, not that it's an afterthought now, but the funding that's coming through ARPA and potentially through an infrastructure bill is just so much greater. And even, the governor who, is laid out his vision of this, I believe included close to 400 million statewide for water and sewer programs. So there's a bigger pot for us to pursue from. But Laura, I don't know if was I off base on the Swampscott thing, or do they have a decent?
Just again, this is back of envelope stuff, but I know Swampscott has been making progress. There, when I say ACO, I believe they have an ACO, an administrative consent order agreement with EPA, and that agreement I think came with a price tag of about 10 million, and I think that was only about half of what was needed. So Swampscott's been making progress on it, but it still has a long way to go. So I think, probably collectively it's about 20 million for Swampscott. I think Lynn might be higher than that. Lynn Lynn Water and Sewer has come forward with 3, project ideas, and they vary in terms of how you solve this problem. And my personal feeling is you're always better off going to the source of the problem. And I feel that, we really do have to do the hard work of, fixing the sewer system, not just carrying the waste further out to sea. I think you're not solving it when you do that. So that I'm just giving you what I would probably advocate for, which of course is the most expensive thing, but it's also the least onerous as far as permits. So there's some upside there, but I think, we'll have to, see what's available. We're going to have further conversations with the secretary, and the governor certainly is aware of this problem. He drives by every day on his way to work. So the conversation is ramping up, and we're gonna we'll have to see what we can fund and what's available, and we'll know more as Senator Crichton and I have further conversations.
Patrick, we'll go to you, and then Heather.
Sure. That 20 million figure that Senator Crichton mentioned in the beginning, that money is still sitting around waiting to be used. I just wanted clarification on that.
Yeah, so for bond bills, though, politicians, we love to talk about the money we just got in a bond bill because it's usually pretty significant. It's us authorizing the governor to spend that money. So, they're only able to fund so many projects a year. Usually they'll create 5-year capital plans and decide what to prioritize out of the hundreds of millions of dollars that the legislature has allowed them to use. So, we thought there was a strong case throughout. It has been seven years roughly since that was done. That being said, I'm not dismissing that money. I just, given our conversations and
I get that it's going to be more. I just didn't know if that was still like specific.
Yeah, it's still sitting there.
Sitting there. Okay.
It's not like sitting there in a safe somewhere, but we're saying spend it, and they can still spend it.
Got it.
It requires authorization by the governor, so it would be up to him. But right now we're seeing ARPA as a first approach.
Got it.
Heather O'Brien. 617 Harbor.
I'm sorry, I need to unmute. Hi, I'm Heather O'Brien. I live over in East Boston. I'm part of the Boston Harbor Storm Surge Working Group, and I'm on the Climate Coalition here in East Boston. And we've been working on, we have a few very active CSOs still causing some trouble over here. And I was just wondering, some of the CSOs that we have here in Boston show up in the notification system and on the maps when they're active for the MWRA, and then Boston Water and Sewer has a separate one for some that they still track. I was wondering if there were, where we could find the ones that are still active into Kings Beach.
Chris, you want to take that one?
Yeah, it seems like a hard Chris.
Yeah, I don't have a final answer on the best place to find it, but there is just one that is related to Kings Beach, and it doesn't, I mean, this is sort of a technical difference, but it doesn't empty onto Kings Beach. It empties into Stacy Brook, which
Right.
then of course empties onto Kings Beach. So
where could we find like information about when that CSO is active?
yeah, actually, Bob, do you happen to know the answer to that?
Yeah, can I speak, John?
Go for it, sir.
Okay. Hi, folks. Bob Tucker, the Friends of Linden Hot Beach. The Linden Water Sewer Commission, this is one of the things the Friends of Linden Hot Beach have been pushing to the Linden Water Sewer Commission to have better communication when there is a CSO onto Kings Beach. You can find it, now you can, if you go looking for it closely, on their website, the Linden Water Sewer Commission website. We've been asking for direct notification, and we have not been getting that. So our vice president of our organization, Michael Salondo, can't make it tonight. He finds it on the Linden Water Sewer Commission website.
No,
And
that's
just-
great. That's good information. You
Yeah.
know, it's just interesting that the MWRA CSOs that they track and keep charge of, there's, you get it, you can sign up and get an automatic notification. The Boston Water and Sewer, you have to go and look for it. So it's kind of interesting. I kind of wish that all the ones in the Boston Harbor region were centralized. It would make things a lot easier, I think, to keep track of.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
agree. I think that what we've been seeking more information. I just take just 20 seconds if I could. I
Please.
just want to you folks don't know how happy I am to see another group come together in Swampscott, organizing around this issue, because we've been there for so many years advocating and fighting for this. And we've had tremendous support from Senator Creighton and Representative Larry Ehrlich. And I want to acknowledge that here tonight, and also with Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, they've been terrific. So I think if all forces can combine, hopefully we can, try to successfully get the funds that we need for this project in light of the influx of infrastructure, federal money into the state. So I'm great. I'm so happy to see another group form as quickly as this, and we should partner together. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks.
Just, well, I'm sorry, John.
No,
Just
go.
to follow up on what Bob said, I just want to encourage cooperation, and even beyond this project, I think that it would be useful if the groups had a liaison that could attend each other's meetings, because really the beach doesn't know that there's a property line there. And I think there's a lot of joint and shared interests that would go beyond this, once this project is successfully complete.
Great suggestion. Yep. Ted Dooley.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Senator Creighton and Representative Ehrlich, and Chris as well. I appreciate you taking the time tonight. Representative, I think you spoke to this a bit earlier. I was just curious, question in two parts. One, kind of where the progress has been made in Swampscott and Lynn so far. I know you had mentioned there had been some progress in Swampscott. I'm just curious, from a perspective, how much, I guess, progress has been made in both sides. And additionally, what would you encourage some of us to do in ways to support you in your efforts to advocate for more of that ARPA funding? Would that be to write the congressmen and our senators? And what would you recommend to help us support you in bringing some of that money to help solve this important issue?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ted. Thanks for asking. So in terms of progress, just from what I know, this might even be better coming from representatives of the town and the city. But what I see Dave Grishman is here. I might ask for official progress. Maybe you could tell us, Dave, what progress Swampscott has made. I sort of know very loosely back of envelope, and I know you're chipping away at it every year. But and then Lynn, as far as I know, they've spent almost $100,000 to reline sewers and get to it. But I think that's more of a citywide figure. I don't know if it's directed at Stacy Brooks. So Dave, can I just turn it over to you for just a second? I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but I think coming from you, it's better.
No, thank you, Representative Ehrlich. Yeah, quick update. The select board actually did have a meeting in March. I can link the video in the chat so everyone can watch and see. It's a pretty thorough update. Typically we had been having these updates, annually at town meeting to talk about Stacy's Brook. I will say the 2016 estimate was estimating 4 phases, and it was going to be at a cost of $9.235 million to the town of Swampscott. Happy to report that as of March of 21, the town of Swampscott was estimating costs to be $4.8 million, and there was not going to be a phase 1D. This was due to bid alternates to get a head start on certain projects. So the projects came in under budget with a greater scope. And we did the same thing with phases 1B and 1C, which is currently underway. So we're anticipated to be 2 years early and under budget, which is incredible.
Nice.
And then we applied for and received a $150,000 Mass DEP grant, and we were supposed to have a draft due and a presentation made to the select board in October of 21. So that's going to include a 5-year capital plan as well as a 20-year sustainable funding plan. So hopefully with this DEP grant, with the capital plan, that's going to then grease the skids at the state level allow for funding for hopefully to resolve this once and for all. So, you know, I understand that this is bigger than the town of Swampscott. This is bigger than the city of Lynn. We desperately need, you know, advocates at the state level, and we appreciate Representative Ehrlich and Senator Crichton for coming together and really bringing your expertise, you know, at the state level to help us desperately with this, you know, with this situation at Kings Beach. We understand we're not going to snap our fingers and this problem is going to be solved, but you know, we do want to solve this problem, and we do need to collaborate, and we appreciate the efforts and energies of everybody involved.
That's great, David. Thank you for
Thank you.
that. I'd just like to just address Ted's second question, and then actually, is there anybody from Lynn Water and Sewer here? Does anybody know? John, do you know if we have?
We did reach out, but Andrea, correct me if I'm wrong. Did we hear anything back?
We did not.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't hear.
Just in terms of this system, I can speak to it briefly, and then Bob can fact check me. So the $100 million that they spent was on the sewer separation system, so of the project. So that was just along that, I mean, basically Eastern Ave stretch. So, you know, there is, you know, they were asked, I mean, forced to do it rather, and completed that project. That being said, Chris referenced earlier that, you know, clearly there still are illicit tie-ins, clearly there still are broken pipes. So while that was a big step forward in many ways, you know, the problem still exists. So it's kind of going back and diving into, you know, again, where these hookups are and how we can fix them. So sorry, Laura, I know you were going to answer.
No, that's great. Thanks, Brendan. Thank you for that. I just wanted to address Ted's second question very quickly. Right now, the decision for where this funding goes is in the hands of the state legislature. So the Committee on Ways and Means, the Joint Committee on Ways and Means, and I believe there's another committee that's involved, that they will be making the decision as to where the funding goes. And that is the hearing that Senator Crichton and I spoke at, along with Mayor McGee and the rest of the Lynn delegation. So we are, they know we're out there, we're active, and we're following up as well. So that is the pressure point right now. And in terms of your grassroots efforts, I think if you can put together letters, I can, you know, my office and Senator Crichton's office can help you get them into the right hands. If you want to do it organizationally or even individually, that's fine. I would also consult with Save the Harbor, Save the Bay if you want technical assistance. You know, we can help with that too. But I think hearing from the community strengthens our hand and certainly improves the odds that a project will be funded.
Yeah, this time around, unlike others, it's not just Laurie and I that know about this problem up there. So we've been, I mean, other members have come to us, hey, what's going on with Kings Beach? So it's just unusual. Usually you stick to your district. And I think that's a testament to Save the Harbor's efforts to amplify this, to the Friends of Lynn Hot Beach for never, you know, stopping their advocacy. And now we have you guys on board as well. So I do think it's important to remain vocal. Like right now, it's, you know, pretty, I think positive energy is probably the way to go, given that things are kind of heading in the right direction. But, you know, who knows, we could get some curveballs and we might need to activate all of you to help us make the case. I would say too, you know, obviously for the hearings, we would, you know, welcome folks to come to testify. They've been going like 8 hours long, and most of the time, not everyone there gets to speak, or I mean, you just can't. So the letter writing that Laurie suggested is probably the best means of communicating directly to the committees.
Thanks, Senator. Andrea.
Hi, everybody. I'm Andrea. I just moved to Swampscott about a year ago, and we were excited to move here because we go kiting on Nahant, and we were most excited because we were like moving a block from Kings Beach. We're like, oh my God, this is perfect. Why are there no kiters here? We went kiting a bunch of times, and then we found out about the problem, and we were like appalled that we had no idea. We went into these like sewage infested waters, and I was like, this can't keep happening. So first of all, I really appreciate everybody who's here, whether you're a stakeholder or whether you're, you know, like a concerned citizen. Like, it really is going to take all of us to solve this problem. And so I sincerely appreciate the fact that everybody's taking an 8 p.m. out on it's Thursday, on a Thursday evening. So I think my biggest question would be kind of like the accountability for Lynn Water and Sewer. So it seems like they're a bit of a separate entity and they don't really have any accountability to anybody, which makes me a little bit nervous. And that's my general understanding from what I've been told. I'm not an expert by any means. Can somebody comment about how we can create more accountability and more transparency on for that piece of things? And then I think like one follow-up question should be like, okay, it seems like there's certainly a lot of people from Swampscott here, and then like, in the state level, but I would also want to know like who from Lynn should be here that maybe isn't here.
For question.
So just on water and sewer, I'm going to be mindful of the audience here that includes media as well, and keep in my lane, which is at the state level. There are appointments from the city council as well as appointments from the mayor to a board that, makes decision. And Bob can definitely correct me on any part that I'm wrong here. Bob, just jump in. I would reach out to local officials should you have concerns with decisions that are being made there. They are public meetings. They have meeting minutes. They have, they are, I believe, televised. You could hold them accountable at the local level. I would say that recently we had, as a delegation, Representative Ehrlich, Representative Cahill, Representative Ano, and I sent a letter to the executive director, and he responded very promptly, acknowledging the problem, giving a pretty good detailed background on it, and also offering some, suggested solutions. So I think, while, it's taken us a while to get here, it's important to acknowledge that we're at least making progress on that end. So, but I do, definitely hold all of us, all of your elected officials accountable, including those here tonight.
Perfect.
I forget the second part of the question, so sorry.
No, it's okay. I guess just really quick follow up on, so are the members of Lynn Water and Sewer, are they elected or are they appointed?
They're appointed. Again, I believe it's the city council and the mayor are the only ones that have appointments. Is that accurate, Bob?
Yes, there's 5 members of the Lynn Water Sewer Commission. They're appointed for 3-year terms, 2 appointed by the mayor, 2 appointed by the Lynn City Council, and the 5th member is a Lynn City Councilor appointed by the Lynn City Council. The meetings are, I'm also chairman of the Lynn Community Television, so we record the meetings at the Lynn Water Sewer Commission. They regularly meet once a month, and Senator Creighton's correct. So that's the way it is. We've been asking for more transparency and accountability, and so far I think Senator Creighton and Laurie, got answers to the letter that they sent to the director. So, but that is a Lynn thing. They're all appointed by, by the Lynn mayor and the Lynn City Council.
Okay, and then just to follow, so my second question was like who from Lynn should be in this kind of meeting? Like if they are not here tonight, who should be here?
I appreciate Laurie's suggestion earlier, teaming up with the Friends of Lynn and Hot Beach. I'm sure Bob has a long list of members and aspiring members that he could help coordinate with. I would say that, through social media, obviously folks have become more active. I don't have a good, sense of how, cohesive it is if it's just a page where people go to share their thoughts, but, maybe there are groups like this in that mix. This is, one of the biggest issues facing both communities right now. So like people are talking and calling us all the time about this. So I don't know if there's any organized group that would, have a title or a name yet that we could just refer you to, but I will circle back with my staff and Rep Ehrlich, and we'll try to figure out some connections.
Yeah, and just so you know, Friends of Lynn and Nahant Beach, it's the largest friends group in the state. And they've been around for a lot of years. Bob, I don't even know how far back the Friends group goes, but it's a solid group. It meets monthly, and it's a great group of people. And I can't recommend that organization enough, even to help a fledgling organization in Swampscott gets started, I think, and then have a great relationship together. I think it's great. I come from the grassroots. That's what I did before I ran for office. So I love this stuff. but yeah, so just keep in touch. That's how things are going to happen, and keep talking, and don't assume that it's going to get done just because we all feel good and we're all on the same page tonight. Don't assume it's going to get done. We're going to have to work at this. I'm not going to stop working. Brendan's not going to stop working, and we're going to get it done. But it's going to take a sustained effort. You can't just say, okay, that sounded good, and wash your hands and go home and move on to something else. We're going to have to stay together on this and really work to getting it done.
Hey, Bob, real quick, piggybacking off of the representative's strong endorsement of your organization. Nicole McLean here in the chat asked, when are the meetings for your group?
Okay. We usually meet 5 times every other month. Of course, unfortunately, like everyone else, so in 2020 we didn't meet. We put on other projects like the concerts at Red Rock and summer cleanups and so forth like that. So basically, we did not do really much in 2020. We started trying to get meetings back on Zoom this year, and I think we're planning to have one in October.
Great.
So unfortunately, COVID slowed us down a lot on actually meeting in person, because we used to get 40, 50 people, and it would be at someone's home here on Lynch Road Drive. And, you just can't have that amount of folks together in a home today. So we're relying on now trying to start back up in Zoom, which is a challenge for some folks.
I'm sorry if I oversold you, Bob. The good old days of
we've been there since 1990. We've been down there. I mean, you didn't oversell us at all.
Well, we're almost past that heat wave, Bob. So, if you're looking to kick up some meetings in person outside, we're all game for that. That'd be great.
Okay. All right.
Becky, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, I just want to thank everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
We hear you.
Okay. I just want to thank everyone for being here. Thanks, Lori. Thanks, Brendan. Thanks, Andrea, for making the Facebook page and kind of bringing attention to this in Swampscott at the grassroots level. So my name is Becky Suchu. I am on the board of Friends of Lynn and Haunt Beach. I was a Lynn resident for 12 years. That was my first town in Massachusetts that we lived in. Both of our kids were born when we lived in Lynn, and I'm basically here because I care. We now live in Marblehead, but we spend a lot of time down Lynn and Swampscott on the beach at the park. We have a dog. We walk him up and down Red Rock Park, down Nahant. And so we just really care that, my daughters know about the water. They know when they see people in the water at the outfall that they shouldn't be there. And they know not to go down on the beach with the dog in that area. So we just want to get the word out. But the other thing that I wanted to ask is, right now we're kind of in this crisis mode. So we know, we can do letter writing and we can get things going on the cleanup side. But I don't know, we're talking about all this federal funding, and I'm not sure if it's a good opportunity or not, but I just want to kind of put it out there, is whether we should have a stretch goal too. So aside from like cleaning up the pipes and getting the poop off the beach, is there, get the ward bathhouse into a snack bar and look at some other things that would bring other benefits to the area. So, what does that look like? How do we do it? Fixing the stairs that are falling apart in some of the areas where we've always, as a friends group, we've kind of done these, like, partner with the DCR and give them a little bit of money and do a matching grant and, put things in and get them to fix the railings and get them to do this and that. And we've kind of piecemealed it over the years with kind of really, really pushing them. And I don't know if it's just a year that we can say, hey, let's just put everything on a list and send it over. And, here's what we have to do, but also here's what we want to do. And, I think the question was asked earlier, or maybe it was in the chat, but what else are we competing with? And, I wouldn't want to take money away from someone who's fixing a crisis like this. But if we're talking about this or beautifying another area, like, why not bring those funds here. So those are my questions.
Chris, go for it.
I guess I'll jump in. So I would
Go for it, Senator. Yep.
Oh,
no, I don't mean to interrupt with someone.
I was
Chris,
just going to give you
yeah.
some credit, Senator. I was going to.
Yeah, give me credit. You can speak. Go ahead.
Becky, the one thing I'll say about that is that the DCR has also made a pitch for the infrastructure funds. They reached out to us, and we in turn reached out to the delegation from the metropolitan beaches. So we submitted a priority list on fairly short notice for this one this one thing, but Senator Crichton and other folks from up and down the metropolitan beaches submitted priority items, 2 or 3 priority items for that, including the Ward bathhouse and the damaged walkway over by the Ward bathhouse. But I think we could probably spend a little more time and develop a more thorough list, to your point.
I think thank you, Chris, for the credit for explaining that. I think the process hasn't been quite settled on, and I'm sure House and Senate leadership are speaking with each other, but this is brand new. No one's ever gone through something like this. So I think the legislature said, listen, we're not just going to take this money from the feds and just get it out as quickly as we can. We said, let's have a public process, a transparent process. We sense the urgency across a wide range of areas. That being said, let's hear from people. Let's hear from stakeholders. That process is unfolding now. I would hope that sometime this fall, there'll be some type of process that would mirror a budget process or a bond process where we would have a debate over these items and then, get it to the governor's desk quickly. So on those bigger items, there's so much need, and it's not just in areas like water quality across our districts. I can't imagine we're going to be able to go after 5 or 6 projects, or even 2 or 3 projects potentially. We don't know that yet, so I don't have a crystal ball. I would say for the issues that you're talking about, absolutely, we need to stay on top of DCR for their capital plans. We need to look for other funding, even in the annual budget appropriation. We have some flexibility from time to time to help, but I could be proven wrong. It's going to be hard to narrow down which priorities. Even I don't know how much say we're even going to have as legislatures on the floor necessarily, but trying to make everyone aware of how dire the situation is at Kings Beach.
Thanks, Senator. I do want to call on Edward McLaughlin. He's having trouble with Zoom. Edward, are you there? I know you said you only have 1 or 2 minutes left.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go for it.
I'd like to thank the representative and also the senator tonight and John for putting this together. My name is Ed McLaughlin. I lived in Marblehead for 20 years and moved to Lynn 5 years ago when the kids grew up and moved out. And I live just two houses up from the beach. So I walk out on my front deck and I look at this every day of the year. I'm encouraged tonight that the group has really come together, and I always have to compliment Laurie because she hits the nail right on the head. This is a solvable problem. It's really only a question of money. And again, the governor, my question to the representative and senator is, has anyone encouraged the governor to get involved in this or know his position? I mean, I'm kind of shocked that he lives, a little further away from the beach than I do, but he's looking at it the same way I do. So as we all do. Does anyone have a response to that?
So we have a follow-up meeting coming together right now. I don't know if we've landed on a date. I know we're working on a date to get together with his environmental secretary, Kate Theoharidis. And that is a semi-direct route to get the governor involved. I think, if I have the chance to have a conversation with him directly, I will do that as well. But he is aware of the beach. He is aware of, that there are issues with the beach, and he has supported my efforts and Brendan's efforts to care for the beach. So I would imagine, that we would have, a willing ear But I have not had that direct conversation with him yet.
I would say, Laurie, you're absolutely right. I mean, everyone's aware at this point. So he's aware. Past administrations have been made aware too. So this is something that, I mean, I started in Senator McGee's office in 2005. I was getting yelled at by Bob Tucker about algae every day. I thought he was a real evil man. And then eventually I got to meet him, and it's not that bad, but you were pretty rough on the phone, Bob. I forgive you. But even back then, a buddy of mine said, hey, he was making fun of Lynn, as people sometimes do, said, Lynn's Kings Beach is the worst water quality. And this is way back then. So even before the testing we're talking about now. And I said, that's no way. And we looked it up, and it was. And it was like one of those like just shocked moments where, so that was, I mean, that might even been on Romney. So it's been, you know, I occasionally reference the governor's house being so close as to a way to, you know, kind of pressure, you know, that movement, but it has been here for quite some time. And this meeting, Secretary Theodoridis was at the same hearing we were, advocating for similar projects around around water and sewer infrastructure. So I hope that we have, you know, we can have a partner, let bygones be bygones about kind of the delay with the other money, and just get this done, get this started.
If I could just finish with, Laurie and I were together August 20th, 2019, when the Lynn City Council put together a 6-member panel and COVID came along. Nothing has happened, but I think Laurie probably remember at that meeting, a neighbor of mine stood up and said, you know, 30 years ago, almost to the day, I was to this same meeting talking about the same problem. And in 30 years, nothing's happened. So I think with, you know, ARCA money coming and the federal infrastructure being talked about, I think now time to strike while the iron is hot. I appreciate everyone's effort. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks, Ed. We've got 2 minutes left. Robin, go for it.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Robin Grace. I just want to thank everyone on this call for caring. I want to thank our representatives for advocating for us and for listening to us. So thank you for your time. I live right near Red Rock Park, and I fulfilled a lifelong dream of living on the water, and then was surprised to find out that I couldn't actually swim on the beach that I worked so hard to get to. I do want to say that, you know, talking to people from both communities, and I really think it is going to take a village to solve this. There seems to be a lot of misinformation out there. There seems to be a lot of misconceptions, and there seems to be a lot of key stakeholders that maybe aren't speaking to each other from both towns. What can we do to increase the communication between both towns? And what can we do to improve the communication to the community so they understand what's happening, being more transparent, and how they can help?
And maybe within that last question, Robin, I think that's a really great ending point. We can hear from each of the panelists as those are pretty clear action steps about how we can take this conversation and everything we've learned tonight from all of you, and what can we do starting, you know, tomorrow and into the future. I think that's a great last action step question.
Yeah, Robin, we're going to get you swimming in the ocean before too long, hopefully. And the best thing you can do, I think, in the short term is come up with an action plan to write letters to the legislative panels, the committees, and, you know, our offices can help you, you know, address them properly if you need, and you can figure out, you know, I think a conversation, I turned to Friends of Lynn and Nahant Beach. Bob, sorry to put the pressure on you, but since you're organized and you're adept and you know how to do this and the players and everything, as an advisor to maybe help those who might be new to grassroots activism and interacting with the legislature. Bob, if you could serve as just a contact person if people need help, and also Chris and John, you're adept at this as well. Just, you know, our office as well. I think the chance to, you know, really be heard is now, and the time to make your opinions known is now. So I would say that is a good start. And then as far as misinformation, I don't know, the internet is vast, and I think if we can maybe come up with maybe a one-stop shop for accurate information, that would probably be a good idea. I don't have the answer as to how to do that. Maybe there's some leadership with us tonight, maybe John, maybe maybe Chris, I don't know, but that would be a help for us as well.
Perfect. Senator.
Yeah, just to build off that, I mean, I'm really thankful to John for reaching out. We had coffee a couple of weeks ago and just talked about this for an hour or so. And, that sparked, kind of this conversation here. So just little conversations in passing can get more people on board. So I think one, we can stay in touch regularly as a group, and we can do that through, representative of the group. Laurie and I are working together regularly, but we are happy, at any time to jump on a Zoom call or to answer a question. I agree with Laurie, like the social media stuff and the misinformation, we just don't have the capacity to answer every question or every post. It's impossible. It would take a much bigger staff on our end. So, we try to communicate that, the issues the best we can through social media. And with the help of Save the Harbor and the Friends, I think we've done a better job messaging through earned media in our papers, which again gets more information out there. Laurie referenced the algae smell earlier, the paella algae on Long Beach, like that. Forever, the two issues were combined, and that's like, a small, not really harmful piece of misinformation. But there's also misinformation out there that could be, could cause, negative, health effects. So it's things we need to monitor and stay in regular contact with. So we're committed to that. I'm pumped to have, all of you with us now. We don't feel so alone anymore. I should also say that I live off a block off of Lynn Show Drive. So I'm down there regularly with my family, and my kids also know very well that Kings Beach is not a swimming beach for us. So we will hoof it as far as we can away from the algae in Long Beach when we go. Anyways, thank you. If any follow-up questions or just in terms of, you mentioned people not communicating well together. Robin, maybe we could talk offline about who's not connecting, and maybe Laurie and I could help connect those folks or, facilitate a better conversation.
Great, thank you.
Chris,
And
you go for it, Robin.
John, kudos to you for organizing this. John, I really appreciate it. And Andrea, thank you for stepping up and just, sometimes just creating the meeting sparks the conversation and gets things moving. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you all for taking the time. Chris, any last comments from you before we all sign off here? I want to respect everyone's time.
Oh, yeah, sure. I would just say, second everything that everybody said. I come from an education background, and so I do have a grassroots organizing background. So I do have these fantasies of, and actually, I believe Friends of Lynn and Hunt Beach has a statement that you guys are preparing. That the ideas in it are exactly what we've thought about. Better public education signage on the beach, specific placement for it, so that you can really convey the factual and fairly interesting information about the algae versus the sewage, and communicate that really clearly. Those are really kind of low-hanging fruit, low-cost approaches, and Save the Harbor would be really happy to participate in that. We could put on a small fundraiser, we could get some funds for it, and get that stuff up, working directly through DCR on the communication side. But other than that, take exactly what the senator and the representative said. Let's put together some letters, and if you are a Lynn resident, talk to your city council members to connect with Lynn Water and Sewer.
Thanks, Chris. And again, thank you, Senator, Representative. And again, Chris, thanks so much for taking the time. I know we went a little over, but I feel like we could all talk about this for another few hours. But I think we're all very passionate and like the Senator said before, very much aligned on this issue. And we're looking forward to diving into those next steps and those follow-ups that I think will create a large, big positive impact moving forward. So thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks. Thank you. Take care.
Take care all.